Hello, everyone. It is me. I'm a nerd politics, also known as Colson Kaufman, and welcome to the aftermath of a complete and utter disaster. Let me tell you, that election, or sorry, not even the election, this debate that just happened, my God, it's probably the worst debate I've ever seen in my lifetime, but it's the worst debate since the first televised debate in 1960 between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon, in which Richard Nixon was sweating because he was losing badly. However, it's switched around. Joe Biden's not the one that's sweating. It's the people watching Joe Biden and the Democratic Party sweating like, oh my God, what the hell were we thinking? And I gotta say there, yeah, Democrats, major screw up. You can't. I tried while while listening to CNN and MSNBC do the live debates. I was trying my damn bestest to try to get points for Trump and Biden on each and every problem. Eventually, I stopped after an hour and 30 minutes because they rambled about the same thing, and Joe Biden got even more ill on stage. Um, I mean, I'll go through some of the things here. So for Trump, when it comes to national debt, he was talking about, the first 14 months that Joe Biden entered office, there was an inflation blowup, which caused, these gas prices to soar. It caused the housing market to soar, and it made less people eligible of getting their first apartment or their first house. That became a problem. And then he talks about his tax cut during his presidency and why it helped because it brought trillions of dollars from small businesses, which it did. I have no problem with that tariff. He mentions that because of Joe Biden taking over our country, we're nothing more than a third world nation, which I completely agree. I mean, we gave all of our most of our weapons to Afghanistan, and that then helped Iran into Palestine and Israel. We've given billions of dollars to Ukraine for no real reason. So, we're giving out stuff and we're becoming weaker because of it. China's bigger than us now. Russia is bigger than us now. Possibly India at this point. Who the hell knows? And then, when it comes to Biden on this point, he can't say numbers for crap. He can't say he can't differentiate the a thousand, like 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a trillion, a million, a billion. He mixes it up all the time, and it's not, it's something that on a professional level you shouldn't be doing. If you're the president of the United States, you shouldn't mix up $1 trillion with $1 billion. And he says there's over 1,000 trillionaires. What in the Joe? What were you thinking? I mean, come on, dude. And then he mumbles to himself. I mean, he couldn't speak a word, for God's sakes. And even if Trump's main concluding point was blame him for immigration, and I kind of blame Trump that he did talk about certain points, sure, and like his tariff taxes and why they were good, why they can't expire if he's president, but he really only damaged him on the border control problem, and that being the main problem for why everything else is here, why people can't get jobs, which he actually made a pretty racist quote in there where he said, or not really a quote, but he made a racist stance where he was trying to say all these Hispanics are taking over the black jobs. You shouldn't have said that, because now you're making it seem like, oh well, black people are acquainted to these jobs only and nothing more, and Hispanics should be acquainted to these jobs and nothing more. It feels very segregated. Should not have said that. He did, but it completely glossed over everyone, because the problem was that Trump, if he didn't really speak at all about the problems and just mocked Biden, he still would have won by a large amount of numbers. I mean, 67% of Americans right now are still saying that, yeah, Trump won that debate. And I would imagine a lot of those people in the 67% don't want to agree that he did. But if you compare it to Biden, there was no strong start like Joy Reid said, and there was definitely no good ending. The whole thing was a mess. when Joe Biden tried to speak on issues with national debt, he mumbled to himself and said, "We beat Medicare." Trump roasted him back and said, "Yeah, you beat it to death." Trump had him at every single point and advantage possible, and Biden just looked clueless. I mean, he was staring off into space. He looked more confused than Gronk trying to find a teleprompter. I mean, good God. It was insane. And this is, of course, the first debate on the national level that has happened, since the overturn of the Roe v. Wade. So that's a big problem by itself. Um, and, Trump supported Roe v. Wade, with its emergencies. There has to be exceptions. Graping, because I can't say the actual word on here on YouTube. Graping, uh, uh, if you have a kid within 6 weeks and you don't want it, then that's fine. I have no problem with that. But when you wait an extended period of time so long that it's pretty much developed, you cannot do that. You should know by then. You should know. So there has to be exceptions from when people are being graped, when people are being used as objects and, not for the people they are. And, there's got to be exceptions to that. Biden, on the other hand, he's just like, well, let the doctors decide. It's a federal thing, so let the doctors decide. So you let doctors have this ultimate power control in which now doctors are being like, well, I think I should kill that one. I think that one should live. This is not the Salem witch trials, okay? This is kids. These are kids that we're talking about. Not witchery. This is not some like, well, if this were to occur, then you're a witch. Like, no, these are kids. Like, come on, man. It's stupid. Um, and I mean, I couldn't really. Biden on his immigration, he tried his best on it. He said he was endorsed at the border, but let's be fair, Trump was endorsed first, Biden second, so they've all been endorsed. That will probably continue to happen throughout this race. Um, he said that Donald Trump locked kids in cages and separated them from their families. And you know what? I did see that in the news when he did take over, but I saw it one time. I saw it one singular time and I never saw it again. Now, does that mean that it's just gone like, oh, it only happened one time, so, whatever? No, they probably were still doing stuff in the background because it's the president, right? But, if you're only going to showcase it one time, if when it's a big issue, then I'm almost thinking legitimately that this was resolved very quickly after it started, obviously. Um, and then he pointed out something like 40% of the immigrants are legal, but they're not. Every immigrant who's walked in through the border of this country was illegal because they have no green card to prove it. They live in luxurious hotels and live more than U.S. veterans and U.S. citizens, and U.S. citizens are dying massively, thousands more than usual from the border. And that's not just the border down south. We're talking about, just borders across all from New York, from Canada, into Canada to here, into Europe, from Europe to here, and from the Middle East to here, from China to here. Like, there's a lot in here that is a problem. And, I'm writing down stuff and, I'm getting to foreign policy and, Trump won foreign policy because he talked a lot about Afghanistan and basically was like, Biden, you gave $96 billion of weaponry over there to kill innocent people, which they did. And half the people of the million plus that you tried saving in Afghanistan, more than half of them died. You did not succeed if half more than died, if not more. And, Trump's point on like you giving $200 billion to Ukraine when all these soldiers are dying and nothing's going on good there. You're wasting money. Biden trying to go back and say, you're just this war criminal, and how dare you call my deceased son a loser? You're the loser. Like, this whole debate, if I had to sum this up, this whole debate was nothing more than two middle schoolers or two stupid freshmen in high school arguing but not providing evidence but just saying nuh-uh because I said so. Like, that is just the stupidity that this debate came at. And it just blows my mind that that is what I painfully watched for 2 hours, and an hour and 30 minutes through, I was like, okay, I can't write anymore. They're just speaking the same BS they did 20 minutes ago or an hour ago. Like, come on, dude. So I will now speak on the polls. I know it's been 16 minutes, but most of my videos average to be about a couple minutes more than that. But it's whatever. So, what are the polls saying right now? For the national polls, on 270, it says, 1.2% updated as of today. I'm going to say, bull BS. Well, just complete bull, is because that debate really changed a lot of these states' opinions. And the first one I have to say is that New Jersey is going 1% in Donald Trump. Now, this is obviously, very unlikely. I don't remember a time where New Jersey was a Republican state, but I don't blame him either, because why the hell would you want to vote for Biden when he can't configure anything he says? Man, I'm getting so heated about that. And there's two other points in that debate in the future that I'm really curious about. They're probably not going to bring it up, and they should. One, they should bring up about, LGBTQ. It's a very controversial topic, but they should talk about it just to see how Biden. I just want to laugh at how Biden can answer that. And Trump, obviously, he's got his points on it. We've heard it on his rallies. And the other point, now I'm forgetting all of a sudden. What the hell? I just had a Biden moment. Oh, Jesus. Oh. So, pride. And also, yeah, when is Trump getting a vice president? I mean, Trump could still run the United States perfectly fine with a vacant vice president. Many presidents in the past, over 130 years ago, surely have. But those were different times, because over 140, or, this was around 140, 150 years ago, the United States was completely different and was not the same as today. So, it's like you could do it, but you probably need someone to do it with you. So, I'm a little bit curious about that for sure. I haven't heard from Robert F. Kennedy. All I've seen is a video of, him saying, he made a campaign video being like, these two good ones trying to be the best goods, but remember, I'm the Holy Spirit. I'm the one holding this thing together. And it's like, so you didn't go to the debate, and rather you came up with a religious piece of imagery that's supposed to represent that because you're holy in this debate, then that makes you just number one. Sure, hey, you do you, bud, but I don't think you're going to win in the electoral vote, and I think you're gonna steal votes on the popular front from Biden, which helps Trump out tremendously, which is why a lot of people don't like RFK Jr. in the Democratic Party. Um, but here, I'm just gonna speak about the polls. North Dakota is still showing 34%. And I'd have to say the safe states right here, I'm just going to label them because it should be almost obvious at this point that I, just completely tell you, hey, here's the safe states. I shouldn't have to make this clear. But I will, you know. Um, Ohio, and yeah, like these are your safe states, and I'd say Alaska too. So we're looking at 151 here, and I'd say Joe Biden's strongest states, even after this aftermath, still California. I'd I'd say still Oregon, like Washington here, and I'd still say New York, and I'd still say most of the East on this part would say otherwise. Just being like, no, Joe Biden did great. What do you mean? His home state would definitely say that. So here's the safe states here. So we're already at 123 and 151, and Texas right now is showing 6% for Donald Trump. I think it's more likely that Texas is still a Republican state. I know a lot of Democrats move there, but that doesn't really mean that it's going to change a whole lot. Wisconsin is looking at a 0.5% margin for Donald Trump. I definitely do still think I definitely do still think that this will be, different as we continue with the debates, if the debates continue to happen. Um, but I think a lot of this, these old blue wall states are just realizing that Biden's not the guy that you want here. Uh, and that's just what the numbers say. You can have your own opinions, but that's generally what the numbers have to say for it. Georgia currently nearly 5%. I'd say Georgia, very few times has Georgia ever been Democratic, besides Jimmy Carter winning it because he was, governor down there. So obviously, that makes sense. But I'd say, kind of still, well, let's see what the election has to say about it. And, at this point, who knows? And I'd say Nebraska is almost 100% safe at this point, after this debate, because these districts do fight about the, abortion thing and the Roe v. Wade. And I think Donald Trump handled that excellent, excellently. And, I think Biden, of course, he had nothing to say because I don't know. Something's wrong with the guy. Something was wrong with him, all right. Nevada, it's showing a near 4% advantage for Donald Trump. I'm still going to leave that up for the election to decide on. In Maryland, it still says that Biden's guaranteed. I don't know. This this is a cluster as it stands. Minnesota, it says 2% for Biden, so that's a little bit changed. But again, this is going to be another state that's going to be left up to the voters to really decide who wins this state. Um, New York is actually down to 5%. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm still thinking New York will still vote for Biden, but 5% is wild to me. Pennsylvania is at 2.2% for Trump. So again, let's let the people in this state, let's let the people in this nation decide, how that really turns out, if it turns out at all. That's just how we should look at it here. Um, and Michigan, I know Michigan's in here somewhere. Just gotta find it. Just gotta find it. Let's see. Looking at it, Florida is at 6.3%. North Carolina is at 5%. It's a tie in Virginia. And in Maine, he's led up by a point. So, yeah, this is crazy. This is just wild to me. Um, I I don't even know what to say anymore. So we're already at a point here where Trump's 292 to 143, and with the help of New Jersey and such, it does influence a lot. I think Indiana definitely has a helping margin. By the way, on this, I don't think they're gonna switch up on us for any reason. Here, it says currently 3% for Arizona, which let's leave that up. And it says 0.5% for New Mexico. Let's leave that up for the actual debate. Jesus. I still think Joe Biden is likely to win in Illinois. And I know it said 1% for Michigan. So I know that's going to be just whoever's game is going to come down to that one. You know what I mean? That's just whoever's game. And Colorado is still at around 8%. I'd say it's likely, for Biden. In New Hampshire, it's at 4%. So, it's still, let's let the people decide on that one. It's always been a swing state. So, we got to look at it that way. I'd still think, the first district of Maine, where the most people are fine. DC, absolutely. Massachusetts, pretty much absolutely. And It's a tie with Virginia right now, but if I had to just assume based on what could happen in the next debate or what can happen in the election, I'd still say that Virginia is a let's decide state. And that brings us to a 347 and 191. So, I mean, obviously, Donald Trump still wins no matter if it's the debate, no matter if it's just being muted the whole time. He still wins, but a lot of these states are determined by this election. So, of course, if you're the age to vote, vote, do your part. But of course, that's all I really have to say. And until then, guys, I'll see you all in the next political video. Peace out, guys.